Alright, this is going to be my complete MCU ranking, counting all the TV shows and the movies into one video. And it's going to be a little bit more complex than just taking the exact ratings and just smishing them together, because I did knock down most of the shows a little bit, because I do think the best movie is better than the best show. So I did knock down the shows a couple of points, and then we'll kind of they'll kind of line up like they normally would, but it'll be a little bit different. So it's a little bit, again, it's a little bit more complex than just smushing my previous two rankings below. Also, if you have not seen my individual rankings of the movies by themselves and the shows by themselves, I would suggest go watching those first, because I'm not going to talk as much about these shows in this ranking, because again, I don't want this video to take super duper long. So if you want more context, go watch the other two videos and then come back and watch this. If you just want to watch this one, that's fine. Let's get started. Starting off at number 63 is going to be The Inhumans. This was not a good show. I give it a score of 57. Critics gave it an 11. Audience gave it a 42 on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm a little bit higher than that, right? But again, this is pretty bad. 57 is an F, right? An F is obviously really bad. I have a pretty baseline. I have like a baseline with MCU, and I feel like no MCU stuff is like completely horrible, but The Inhumans is obviously horrible for an MCU show, right? So this is going to be at number 63, a score of 57. It's pretty bad. Getting into my personal thoughts here. So there's a synopsis, a plot, and a finale little blurb on here if you want to read those to get a little bit more context behind the show itself. You can read that, but I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want this to take forever. But my personal thoughts about it, The Inhumans. It was pretty boring. It picks up a little bit in the middle, but it's a bad finale, boring plot, and there's no memorable characters, and it's just very, very flawed. And then here's going to be some of our main characters that we see here. We have Black Bolt, Medusa, Gorgon, Luis, Maximus, who's our villain, and we have Karnak. Next up is going to be 62, The Eternals, with a score of a 63. 63 is bad. Like, this is still not good. That's a D, so it's like, I guess it's a little better, right, than in Inhumans, but it's still not very good. Critics give it a 47, audience a 77. I'm roughly in the middle, and again, it's not very good. Right, getting my personal thoughts here. It is very forgettable story and characters. I would have liked it to be a TV show, so we were able to spend a little bit more time with the characters individually, because they introduced 10 brand new characters, and I didn't know anything about them, and we didn't have enough time in this movie to actually learn and care about all of these characters. Getting into these characters, we have Ajax, Icarus, who's our villain, Circe, Gilgamesh, Phastos, and Athena. The more characters, because again, there's 10 main characters. We got Kingo, Makari, Druig, we got Sprite, who's also kind of a villain, and then we have Crow, who's a Deviant, and he is like the main villain of the movie. Next up is going to be 61, Werewolf by Night, with a score of 66. Critics give it a 90, audience at 88. I definitely do not see where they're coming from. We'll get into my personal thoughts here. I like the concept, interesting concept, like werewolves in the MCU. That should be able to work. I just don't think it worked well, right? Very forgettable characters. I've watched this like 3 times now. Still don't really remember the characters' names, right? I also don't like the black and white aesthetic. I do like that they have an alternative option in color, and I definitely enjoyed it more in color, but it still wasn't very good either way. And then getting into our main characters here, we have Elsa Bloodstone, Verussa Bloodstone, who's our villain, and we have Jack Russell. Next up is going to be number 60, The Incredible Hulk, with a score of a 67. The critics gave it a 68, the audience a 69. So I'm just, a little bit below them, just 1 point below the critics, and then they're 1 point below the audience. So we are all around the same level. We all kind of agree that it's like solid, but it's not anything special. Then my personal thoughts again, bland story. There is some memorable characters, though. Of course, the Hulk is memorable, right? We all also obviously changed the actor for the Hulk after this movie, so I don't know what the reasoning for that was, but I do like Mark Ruffalo as Hulk more than whoever played him in this movie. I don't really remember his name, but they're also like, Thunderbolt Ross, Thaddeus Ross. He's pretty memorable and comes back later stuff. He's memorable, but again, not a great plot of this movie. The characters here, we got Hulk / Bruce Banner, Abomination / Emil Blonsky, who's our villain, Dr. Betty Ross, Leonard Sampson, Samuel Stearns, and then Thunderbolt Ross or Thaddeus Ross, who's also a villain in this movie. Next up was number 59, Secret Invasion, with a score of a 67.33. Critic give it a 53, audience a 43. I'm a little bit higher than them, right? I don't think it was quite that bad, but it still wasn't very good, right? Nick Fury, I love Nick Fury. Like, in theory, this should be a good show. It's a Nick Fury-led show, right? So it should be good, but it just wasn't, right? My personal thoughts, interesting concept. Again, it's a Nick Fury-led show. Like, people, like, love Nick Fury, at least up until this project, but it was pretty poorly executed, again, because it just kind of sucked, and there's nothing of substance in the show entirely, and it just feels bland. I do have it over a couple other stuff because I feel like at least there was a concept that you could grasp onto, right? And it's like, characters are cool, they're just not, they don't hit well in this specific show. Moving on from that is going to be our main characters. Obviously, you got Nick Fury, Jaiya, Maria Hill, Everett Ross, Gravik, who's our villain, and we have Talos. And then getting into number 58, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, with a score of a 67.78. Critics give it a 79, audience a 32. I mean, it's not good, right? But I'm definitely a little bit leaning more towards the critics because the audience just like completely hated it, which makes sense. But again, my score is a lot closer to the critics, but a 79 feels very high for me. Getting into my personal thoughts, not an interesting concept. I don't like a woman Hulk, kind of. It's like, okay, I watched episode 1 of this and I'm like, so she got her powers and she's already like fully, grasping onto them and has full control over her powers, which took like, Bruce Banner Hulk a lot of time to do. And she just grasped onto the concept and is like somehow stronger than Hulk already. It's like, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But whatever. It also no plot development. Like, feels like the episodes themselves are kind of just there. They don't really feel like an overarching story. Our side characters are good though. We got Hulk, Wong, Emil Blonsky, and Daredevil, which we'll get into right here. Jen Walters, Nikki Ramos, Emil Blonsky, Daredevil, Titania, who's a villain, and Todd Phelps, who's a villain, as our main characters. Number 57 is going to be Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania with a score of a 69. Critics give it a 46. I gave it an 81. It gets a 69 right here. I mean, my personal thoughts here, solid start, good characters, bad CGI. Like, the CGI in this movie was horrible, especially MODOK. MODOK looked like Mr. Electric from Shark Boy Lava Girl, and it's just, like, gross. Like, nobody has ever said that Shark Boy Lava Girl has good CGI, so you do not want to be compared to them when it comes to your CGI. It definitely has a low back half, and it kind of has a Star Wars feel. And by that, I mean a modern Star Wars feel, which, again, has pretty bad CGI. But again, good characters. I do like the Ant-Man characters, which we'll get into here. Scott Lang, Cassie Lang, Hank Pym, Jenny Van Dyne, Hope Van Dyne, and then Kang the Conqueror, who in concept should be a really good villain because he's supposed to be the main villain of this saga, or at least was at the time of this release. But obviously that did not work out, and he was kind of poorly executed in this film as well. Number 56 is going to be Thor: Love and Thunder with a score of a 70, so just 1 point ahead of Quantumania. Critics give it a 63, audience a 76. I'm just right in the middle there. Personal thoughts. Solid story, good characters, but I don't really like Jane having powers, and I don't like the ending where the kid get the powers to defeat Gore. It's like Thor has powers, and he's like using his powers through these kids. It's like kind of weird. I don't like it. And then obviously Jane getting her powers through Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, her ex-hammer, I guess. It's like, why did that need to happen? It feels very odd, right, in my personal opinion, but whatever. But on to our main characters. Of course, you have Thor, you have Jane Foster, you got Valkyrie, Korg, Zeus, who's kind of villainish for a little bit, and you have Gore the Godbird, who's honestly a pretty solid villain. I love these characters. Again, just the movie wasn't very good. Number 55 is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Slingshot, which has a score of 72.33, and again, this show is not really a show. It has 22 total minutes of runtime. It's a 6-episode mini-series of like 4 to 5 minute episodes, right? It's very much like doesn't need to be here, right? But it adds a little bit of backstory into Yo-Yo's character throughout the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Storyline, so I guess it's fine, but it's not great by any means. Again, my personal thoughts, not necessary. Does add some solid background, and it's solid for what it is, but again, it's 22 minutes long. I can't really rank it too high. Next up, our main characters, Yo-Yo Rodriguez, Victor Ramon, who's our villain, and then of course you have Daisy Johnson as well, who's a big part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and is a big part of this miniseries as well. Number 54 is I Am Groot with a score of 74. In individual season ranks, I have Season 2 a little bit higher than Season 1, but we're not going to talk about my season rankings in this video. If you want to care about my individual season rankings in depth, again, you can go back and watch my Marvel Cinematic Universe show rankings by themselves, and you'll get a lot more in depth on my personal season by season rankings of these shows that do have multiple seasons. But my thoughts about this one, I mean, there's some fun little adventures with Baby Groot. He's having fun, discovering things about life. Like, it's solid, it's enjoyable for what it is, but again, it's not really that much. It's a mini-series with like 50 minutes of total, of total content. It's like, it's there, it's fun, but again, I can't really rank it too high just because of the nature of what it is. Our characters here, we have Baby Groot, Rocket, and Duatu, which is, I believe, the Watcher's name, so he's kind of cool, but yeah, it's basically just Baby Groot. Next is going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Similar thing here, a score of 75. Critics and audience really seem to enjoy it, with a 94 and 81 score, respectively. But my personal thoughts, I mean, it's enjoyable and very funny at times and a solid holiday watch, but it's not much more than that. It definitely doesn't feel like an MCU thing because it does have the MCU characters, but it doesn't really have like a villain. It doesn't have anything like that because, again, it's just supposed to be a fun holiday episode, which is what it is. But again, I can't really rank it too high on this list just because of the nature of what it is. It's fun, it's funny, but it's like, it's there. I'm not going to, like, you're not going to rewatch this unless it's Christmas, right? And then maybe you will. It's like, there's definitely better holiday stuff to watch and there's better Marvel stuff to watch. So it's like, unless you're a diehard Marvel fan or a diehard like Christmas movie or whatever connoisseur, you're not going to rewatch this that often. Main characters here, we got Mantis, Drax, Peter Quill, Groot, Kraglin, and Kevin Bacon, of all people. He's pretty cool. Number 52 is going to be Ms. Marvel with a score of a 76.5. The critics give it a 98 and the audience give it an 80. 98 seems absurdly high for this show, but I mean, I guess the critics absolutely adored it, which I don't really understand, but oh well. My personal thoughts, bland start, does pick up in the middle. It has no clear setup for the finale, but it does have a pretty good finale, actually. It's a good mystery within the story, like all the stuff about her power with the bangle and like how it intertwines with her family history. Pretty cool stuff, good mystery, and it also teases the Marvels movie at the end credits of episode 6. I believe it's episode 6. Whatever the last episode is, it teases the Marvels movie. Main characters, you have Kamala Khan, Kamran, Bruno, Nama Khan, who's a villain, Aisha, and then Aramis Knight, or the Red Knight, I think, whatever, something like that. He's also a villain in this show as well. Number 51 is going to be Echo with a score of a 77.8. Critics give it a 70, audience a 59. I'm a little bit higher than those guys, right? I think it was solid. I'm getting into my personal thoughts here. Decent all around. Okay story. A lot of ASL, which I don't really want to complain about, but it is like it kind of has to be in the show because of who the character is. Echo is deaf, so obviously you need some sign language in there. But it's like I don't know sign language, so there's large parts of dialogue, whatever if you could call it dialogue, where it's just sign language. So you have to read the subtitles to understand what's going on, which again makes sense for what the character is. But like I personally don't enjoy reading subtitles, so it's kind of annoying, but I don't want to fault the show too hard on that. But again, it is kind of annoying. Also, there doesn't feel like there's any clear direction for this show, but it is pretty solid. And there's no setup for the finale, but again, a decent finale. And also, main characters here, you have Ty Lopez, Kingpin. I mean, come on, Kingpin's cool. Like, don't we love Kingpin? Like, he's awesome, right? You got Henry Black Crow Lopez, William Lopez, Cousin Biscuits, who's funny. Then we have Shafa as well. Number 50 is going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever with a score of a 78. Critics give it 84, audience a 93. I'm a little bit below both of those guys. I mean, quite a bit below the audience, but, 93 seems very high for this movie, but whatever. Next up is going to be my thoughts. Fun story, good characters, but an underwhelming villain, and it definitely drags. Like, this movie is too long. It could have been like 20, 30 minutes shorter, and it probably would have been a few spots higher on this list. But it definitely feels like it drags. It feels very slow. Particularly in the first half of the movie. The back half is definitely cooler than the first half, but it's whatever. I do like the characters, but just not the villain. The villain seems very lame, honestly. Main characters here, we got Ramonda, Ironheart, Shuri, M'Baku, Namor, who is our villain, and not a very good one, like I already mentioned. And then we have Okoye as well. Number 49 is going to be Black Widow with a score of a 79. Critics gave it a 79, so I'm right on par with them, and the audience gave it a 91, which I was surprised, but I kind of understand it. I mean, I love all the characters in the show or in this movie, but it just doesn't like hit that hard for me. Moving into my thoughts, you have a solid story, good action, great characters. Again, I do love pretty much all these characters, but it also does feel slow paced, and the back half definitely drags. Kind of like Wakanda Forever, it feels slow paced and it drags. Like half of it drags specifically, and it's not great, but I do think it is solid. Moving on to the characters, you have Natasha Romanoff, Yelena Belova, Elena Vostokov, Alexei Shostakov, Taskmaster, who's our villain. I like that villain. And Dreykov as a villain, he's also pretty cool, but Taskmaster is definitely better than Dreykov, but again, he's pretty cool too. Number 48 is Thor: The Dark World with a score of an 80. Critics give it a 67, audience a 75. I have it an 80. I actually enjoyed it a decent amount more than both these guys, which I was kind of surprised because I didn't really remember much about this movie until I rewatched it, and it definitely surprised me. It definitely felt better than what I thought it would be, and it was pretty good. My personal thoughts here, solid story, good action, pretty mid-villain. That definitely brings it down, but I do think there's pretty good characters, and there's a solid Thor-Jane dynamic, which I do love their dynamic in pretty much all of these movies. And this one, I just felt like it was worth mentioning, though, as well. Our characters here, we have Thor, Jake Foster, we have Loki, who's definitely villainish, but he's not the main villain. We got Fandral, Odin, and then Malekith, who's our villain, and again, Malekith is not a very good villain, right? I don't really remember what he did in this movie, but I just know he wasn't very good. Number 47 is going to be Luke Cage. We get back to another show here. I give it a score of 81.16. Individual seasons, I have season 1, a couple points better than season 2. According to the critics, they gave it an 87, and audience gave it a 71, so I'm kind of in the middle there. But yeah, moving on from here. My personal thoughts about season 1, good action, solid story. Cottonmouth was solid as a villain. Good setup for the finale, and underwhelming finale. And then our characters here for season 1, you got Luke Cage, Misty Knight, Mariah Dillard, Shades, Claire Temple, and Cottonmouth, who again is our villain. And my season 2 thoughts, bland start, solid back half, good setup, and a good finale, but not a very progressive story. And our main characters for this one, we have Luke Cage, Misty Knight, Mariah Dillard, Shades, Claire Temple, and Bushmaster. So overall for Luke Cage, I do like it. I love Luke Cage as a character, but again, some of these side characters aren't like the best. I could really care less for pretty much both of our villains in this one, especially Bushmaster. And they're not the best villains, but they're solid. Most of our characters are fine, but again, they're just fine. They're not great. But again, solid story. Number 46 is going to be What If with a score of an 81.73. Individual season rankings, I have season 1 ahead of season 2, which is ahead of season 3. Critics gave the show an 85. The audience gave it a 62. And the audience pretty much thought each season got progressively worse by quite a bit, which I don't completely understand. But moving on to my thoughts on season 1. Great individual episodes for the most part, and a really fun crossover finale. So again, season 1 was great. They introduced pretty much a new character every single episode, right? It was great. And then they pretty much had them all come together in the finale, which was great, and it was very, very fun. Getting into our characters, we have Captain Carter, T'Challa as Star-Lord, Strange Supreme, Zombies. They're cool. That was a fun episode. Ultron as our villain. He's a pretty good villain in this show. Then we have the Watcher, of course. And then my season 2 thoughts, good start, lesser middle, good end, mostly. Good individual stories, but there's too much Captain Carter and a completely new character. So what this one does worse than the first season is, pretty much a lot, honestly. But the main things it does worse is, like, it doesn't have new characters every story. Like, we have Captain Carter in here, like, multiple times. I think at least, like, 3 or 4 times in this show, which is, like, or in this season, which is kind of weird because you have all these characters you can put in and you keep repeating the same one. And also they completely added a new character, not from any previous Marvel stuff or comics in the past. She's literally an entirely new character, Kahori, which they added for whatever reason. But yeah, like the characters here, we have Captain Carter, we have Nebula, we have Strange Supreme coming back as a villain this time. We have Kahori, we have Hela, and we have the Watcher. I don't hate Kahori as a character. It's just like, why would you introduce a new character in What If when you have all these other things that you can bring in? But whatever. Season 3, mostly solid episodes. There's some cool Watcher stuff in episode 5 and 6. Good 2-part finale, and a good cast reunion, although it is female heavy, but that's not necessarily a critique. It's just kind of worth noting. Main characters of this one, you have Captain Carter, Agatha, Howard the Duck, Watcher is what I'm calling them, like the Watchers Council or something. I don't know what to call them, but they're definitely the villain of this season. Then we have Ultron and the Watcher, of course, once again. Number 45 is going to be Jessica Jones with a score of an 82.5. And I have season 1 slightly below season 2, which is significantly above season 3. It's only like 2-point difference, but you'll see that this 2-point difference makes a pretty big difference, talking about how closely my things are rated together. But my season 1 thoughts here: slow start, great middle, underwhelming setup, and a good finale with a good mystery. Jessica Jones has really good mystery, which again, I love mystery. And she's a private investigator, so basically like doing spy-esque things, which is, I love it, right? It's pretty cool. Season 1 was solid, but again, it has a pretty slow start, which brings it down a little bit, but it is pretty fun. Characters, you got Jones, Luke Cage, Trish Walker, Hope Schlotman, Zebediah Kilgrave as our villain, and then Jerry Hogarth. Season 2, great mystery, slow first episode, great first half otherwise, and a solid back half with the final finale setup unclear, but a solid finale. So first season had a slow start, first couple of episodes. This one only had a slow first episode, so that is better. And it also had a pretty solid finale, but no clear setup to that. But it's not horrible, but I do like to have some sort of idea of what the finale is going to be like before we just jump into the finale. Main characters from this one is much of the same. Jessica Jones, you have Malcolm, Trish Walker, Elisa, who's our villain, Eddie Costa, and Jerry Hogarth. Season 3, mid first half, better back half, no clear setup to the finale, and a good finale. So, again, the first half, not great. Back half's pretty good. Again, no setup to the finale, which is kind of a constant with this show, so it definitely makes you feel like they did that on purpose, which is not a horrible thing. It's just not the best in my own personal opinion, but it does have a pretty good finale as well. Main characters, you got Jessica Jones, Malcolm, Trish Walker, Gregory Salinger as our villain, Eric Geldon, and then Jerry Hogarth. Number 44 is going to be The Runaways, which if you have not seen The Runaways, go watch it. At least go watch season 1, episode 1, and then if you're not hooked after that, there's probably something wrong with you. But this is something I had no idea even existed before doing this marathon watch, whatever you want to call it, watching these movies and shows. I don't know what you want to call it. Before watching all of this stuff, for this video, I did not know this thing existed, and I was thoroughly surprised. But I gave it a score of 82.7. Individual season, I went season 1, then season 3, then season 2, but season 1 is significantly better than the other 2 seasons. Season 1 thoughts: great start and end, amazing mystery, great consistency throughout the entire season. Season 1 was very, very good, okay? It was really good. Season 2 and Season 3 definitely disappointed me based on what Season 1 had set up, but Season 1 was amazing. And there's a lot of characters to talk about because we have 6 different children, and then their parents are also kind of all the main villains, at least in the first couple of seasons. So our main kids here are Nico Minoru, Carolina Dean, Alex Wilder, Gertrude, Molly, and Chase Stein. And then our villains, which there's obviously more than 6 villains because they're all their parents. So there's more than 6 parents for 6 kids. But these are the main 6 of this first season: Tina Minoru, Leslie Dean, Jeffrey Wilder, Jonah, Janet Stein, and Victor Stein. Season 2, and I thought it had a solid story with a mediocre mystery. There is more character dynamicism, consistently solid, no clear lead up to the finale, and it does have a pretty good finale with a cliffhanger. What I mean with more character dynamicism is basically there's less mystery involved. It's definitely slower paced, so we actually do get more involved with the characters themselves rather than the story that's also going on. So it is kind of fun to do that, but again, it takes away from the overall mystery and story aspect, so it definitely does make it worse, but I do like the character dynamicism. But yeah, our characters here, again, have that kids, obviously, right? And the parents changed a little bit from who the main ones were in this season. We got Tina Minoru, Leslie Dean, Jeffrey Wilder, Jonah, Janet Stein, and then Frank Dean. Next up is going to be season 3. Slow start, good build up in the middle, a really good episode 8 that brings in Cloak and Dagger, which is a show we'll talk about soon. And it does have a really good episode 9 finale, which episode 9 was the real finale. Episode 10 was kind of like a time travel finale. So episode 9 was pretty much the real finale. But yeah, it was pretty good. Our main characters, again, the main kids. We do have Alex Wilder, who's kind of villain-ish, but he's not like really a villain, but he's definitely an antagonist at times in this season. And the main characters for the here, we actually have a lot of the parents that are more so on the good side now. We still only have a couple of villains. We got Morgan Le Fay, Jonah, and then the magistrate's wife, or Stacey York, as our villains. Then we have Leslie Dean, Jeffrey Wilder, and Zavin in the show as well. Number 43 is going to be Agatha all along with a score of an 82.88. Critics give it 84, audience at 83. I'm just right below them on that. My personal thoughts: great mystery. It's a witch hunt, which I love, because if you haven't heard me already, I love mystery, and a witch hunt is pretty much all about mystery. All it was for like 5 or 6 episodes was like, oh, it's like an escape room. We're doing different escape rooms in each episode, and it's like, that was awesome. I loved that. Solid start. Episode 1 doesn't necessarily hook you in that much, but it definitely picks up after episode 1. There's a great middle, slight downtick at the end once they do get out of the witch hunt, but it does have a pretty solid ending though as well. Main characters, we have Agatha Harkness, Rio Vidal, who's our villain. We got Wiccan, who's also Billy Maximoff, so that's kind of crazy when you find that out. Then you got Lilia, Jennifer, Alice, and Mrs. Hart. Number 42 is The Marvels with a score of an 83. Critics gave it a 62, audience a 79. I'm pretty close with the audience's score, but I don't understand why the critics did not like it as much. And I also do think this is the lowest runtime of a Marvel movie, or at least an MCU movie that exists. 1 hour and 45 minutes is pretty low for an MCU movie. But moving on to my personal thoughts. Fun story, great characters, good action, and a weak villain. I do love all these characters from their previous projects that they were in, so I do like to see them all come together, and I like how they work together, but I do think the villain was pretty weak, which definitely brings this down quite a bit. Our characters, we have Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, we've got Dar-Benn, who's again not a great villain, but we have Nick Fury and Prince Yan. Number 41 is Falcon and the Winter Soldier with a score of an 83.5. Critics gave it an 84, audience an 81. I'm in the middle there, so it's not too big of a gap, and I do fall within the gap. So my personal thoughts: solid start, great middle, no clear setup for the finale. It is solid, but an underwhelming finale. So the finale, not great, but again, it wasn't horrible either. I do like episodes like 2 through 5 a lot. Episode 1 and 6 were definitely the low points of it, but those middle 4 episodes are really good. Main characters, we have Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, Sharon Carter, John Walker, Carly Morgenthau, who's our villain, and we have Zemo. Really good cast in this one as well. Number 40 is The Punisher with a score of its 83.58. Critics gave it a 64, audience a 79. I have a little bit higher than that, but not by much, at least comparing with the audience's score. And my individual seasons, I did have Season 2, actually better than Season 1. My thoughts of Season 1: solid story, good start, pretty bland first half though, with a great second half and great action. Main characters here, we have Frank Castle, Billy Russo, Dina Madani, Curtis Hoyle, Lewis Wilson, who's villainish. Billy Russo is also a villain. Then we have Brett Mahoney. I do like pretty much all of these characters, and I love the story within Season 1, but I do think, again, I think Season 2 is a little bit better, but they're both really solid seasons. Getting into Season 2, great start, good middle, amazing setup to the finale, and a great finale. So I do think this one was just a little bit better than Season 1. Again, I think we started out better, and I think we ended better. I love the middles of both of them, but I do think we had a really good finale in this one, and a really good beginning of this one, which I don't think we necessarily had quite as much in Season 1. But the main characters here, Frank Castle, Billy Russo as a villain once again. We got Krista Dumont, Curtis Hoyle, Amy Bendix, and John Pilgrim, who's also another villain, and he's really good as well. Number 39 is going to be Cloak and Dagger with a score of 83.6. Critics gave it an 87. Audience gave it a 66. I'm definitely leaning more towards the critics here. I don't know why the audience didn't like it as much. I really couldn't tell you, because I adored this show. Another show that I had no idea even existed, and it has Olivia Holt in it. I pretty much watched everything Olivia Holt did on Disney Channel. I even watched the Status Update movie. It's like, how did I not know that she was in Cloak and Dagger? I feel like that's something I should have known as a Marvel fan and a Disney Channel fan. So, like, I don't know. Somehow I missed that, but I'm really glad that I ended up watching this show during this project. But personal season rankings, at season 2 just slightly better than season 1. My thoughts on season 1: slow first half, great second half, an amazing episode 9. That one's great. Great finale as well, and a great mystery. It was completely unpredictable though, and it caught me off guard. Not necessarily a bad thing, right? I love mystery, and being able to get caught off guard like almost every episode was crazy. And this first season did that like no other season has probably done in the entirety of the MCU. But again, it was amazing. Again, obviously it could have been better because I do have season 2 better, and there's a lot of stuff better than this. But I do think this probably had one of the best mystery in season 1. It had one of the best mysteries in season 1 out of any show that's going to be on here. Next up is going to be my main characters: Tanny Bowen, Tyrone Johnson, Bridget O'Reilly, James Connors as a villain, Regina Johnson, and then Peter Scarborough also as a villain. And season 2, slow first episode, a good first half, and a great back half with a great build up to the finale. Really good finale as well. Again, less mystery in this one, but there is a better, consistent story. And it is more unpredictable at times in a good way, right? Less mystery, but it is still very unpredictable, which, again, I do enjoy quite a bit. And our main characters have a lot of the same. We have Tanny Bowen, Tyrone Johnson, Bridget O'Reilly, / Mayhem, who's a villain. So she kind of has split personality in this one, and Mayhem is a villain. We have Melissa Bowen, Andre DeShane, also a villain, and then Evita Fusilier. Number 38 is going to be Iron Fist with a score of an 83.69. Critics gave it a 37, audience a 66, and I don't know why they hated this one so much. I enjoyed it quite a bit. For the season rankings, I had season 1 a little bit better than season 2. Get into my season 1 thoughts. Okay, I don't know exactly what happened there, but getting back into this, season 1. Great story and a great mystery. Pretty good action. It is kind of slow paced, but not in a bad way. There's a lot to the story to unfold in this show, at least in season 1 specifically. So the fact that it is slow paced is not a bad thing, because if it was fast paced, I would just be so confused. Getting to our characters, we have Iron Fist, Colleen Wig, Ward Meacham, Joy Meacham, Harold Meacham, and Madam Gao. So a lot of Meachams, right? You got the brother, sister, and the dad. They're all kind of cool. Villains are Harold and Madam Gao. Season 2, great story, amazing up to the finale. Predictable. Again, it was pretty predictable, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It still was pretty good. But I definitely would have liked it to not have been so predictable. But again, the season as a whole was pretty good. Main characters: Iron Fist, Colleen Wig, Ward Meacham, Joy Meacham, Typhoid Mary / Mary Walker, who also has split personality, like we saw with Cloak and Dagger, and Mary Walker is a villain. And then we have Davos, who's also a villain. Number 37 is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm not going to talk too much about these ones as much because there's 7 seasons to talk about, and it's kind of crazy. But overall ranking of an 83.8. So I feel like a lot of people are going to say that this is underrated, but oh well. Argue with me all you want. That's kind of what I'm here for. If you have problems with me, discuss them in the comments below. Individual season rankings are as follows, but I'm not going to read them all because, again, there's just so much to read. You can do that yourself if you really care too much about it. And again, if you want to hear more about my individual season thoughts, go watch my show talking about just the TV shows. But season 1, good individual stories, great action, great mystery, and a good overall story. With our main characters of Olsen, Side Johnson, Melinda May, Fitzsimmons, Grant Ward, who is a mole, and this one, so he is a villain, always not portrayed as a villain for the majority of the season. Then we have John Garrett, who's a villain as well. Season 2, so a lot of stuff here to look at, but we're just going to move on. My personal thoughts: great story and mystery for the first half of the season, but the second half was a lot different. Bland start, good plot and mystery though, with a great build up to the finale, but again, a good but underwhelming finale. I liked the first half of the season, but definitely better than the second half, but the second half wasn't really that bad either. The characters for this one, we got Phil Coulson, Sky Johnson, Melinda May, Fitzsimmons, Grant Ward, who's just a villain now. We got Jai Ying, who's also a villain, and Daniel Whitehall, who's a villain. A lot of villains in Season 2. Season 3, my personal thoughts. Episode 1 through 10. Again, this one's very much split into like 2 different halves. Episode 1 through 10, first half, good mystery and good story, but the back half was much weaker story with a pretty weak finale. First half, great. Back half, not so great. Our main characters, we got Phil Coulson, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, Fitzsimmons, Gideon Malik, who's a villain, Hive, who's a villain, and then we do have Lincoln Campbell. Season 4, bland start, solid Ghost Rider story. I like Ghost Rider, he's cool. But then we have a pretty mid Ida / Cyberverse storyline at the back half. It's like not very good, but we do have a pretty good finale to it. But this was the worst of the 7 seasons in my opinion. It was not great. Ghost Rider's cool, but Ida and all that stuff, I don't care about. Main characters, we have Phil Coulson, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, Fitzsimmons. Then we have Ida, who's a villain, Robbie Reyes, who is Ghost Rider, who's a villain, and then we have Mac as well. Season 5, great story and mystery. A lot of things happening throughout the season. It's very fun and different. I like this one a lot, but it definitely has a lot of the seasons have very different feel from each other, but this one was like very, very different, if that makes sense. Getting into our main characters, we have Phil Coulson, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, Yo-Yo, Fitzsimmons, Cazias, who's a villain, General Hale, who's a villain, and then we got Mac, who's also a villain. This is Season 6. Solid first half, good back chunk, good lead up, and good finale. Lots of questions. Season 6 and Season 7 were also only half seasons, so instead of 22 episodes, there were 13 episodes. Worth mentioning, but doesn't really change how I view them. Right, again, first half solid, back half was definitely better than the first half, and again, the finale was pretty good. Main characters in this one, we have Enoch, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, Yo-Yo, Fitzsimmons, Izel, who's a villain, we have Flint, and then we have Mac. And then Season 7, solid start, bland middle, and a good end, and it definitely wraps up this series well. But again, the start and end were solid, but the middle was not great. So I didn't really like Season 7 all that much in comparison to the other seasons. Main characters this season, we have Enoch, Daisy Johnson, Melinda May, Yo-Yo, Fitzsimmons, Nathaniel Malik, Deke Shaw, and then we have Mac once again. Finally done with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we move on to Agent Carter at number 36 with a score of an 83.97. Individual seasons, I have Season 1 better than Season 2. Critics have an 86, audience a 77. I'm in the middle there. I'm not too far off from either one, but I definitely lean more towards the critics. My personal thoughts on Season 1. Great story, great continuity, great action, and great mystery with a good finale and a solid setup. So I pretty much enjoy this season a lot, right? This is one of the first things you watch when watching this in chronological order as far as the MCU timeline, and it makes you really love this show, right? Because you watch the first Captain America movie, and then you watch this, and you're like, I love Peggy Carter. She's awesome. And I love all the mystery about this. It's awesome. Main characters here, we have Peggy Carter, Howard Stark, Edwin Jarvis, Daniel Sousa, Dottie Underwood, who's our villain. Then we have Victor Ivanchenko, or also known as Johann Finoff, who is a villain. Season 2. Good story, not great continuity, amazing start, muddled middle, and a good back half with a solid 2-part finale. So again, definitely worse than the first season. The continuity is not as good. The mystery is not as good, but it is still very enjoyable. In the middle of it, just wasn't all that great. But again, start was great. Finale is great. The middle, not so great. Main characters, we have Peggy Carter, Jack Thompson, Edwin Jarvis, Daniel Sousa, Whitney Frost, who's our villain, and we have Jason Wilkes. Number 35 is going to be Ant-Man with a score of 84. Critics gave it an 83, audience an 85. I'm right there in the middle. My thoughts. I'm backwards. My personal thoughts. Good story, good action, great humor, great characters with a good villain. Ant-Man is really funny. Ant-Man movies in general are pretty funny. Paul Rudd himself is really funny in most of the stuff that he's in. So it makes sense that these movies are funny. Also, his sidekick jail buddies are also funny. That's cool. Again, I generally enjoy all of the Ant-Man characters, and the villain in this one's pretty good as well. We'll get into the characters here. Ant-Man / Scott Lang, of course, Hope Van Dyne, Hank Pym, Cassie Lang, Yellow Jacket as our villain. He's cool. And then Luis, he's really funny as well. Number 34 is going to be Hawkeye with a score of an 84.33. Audience a 92. Sorry, critics a 92. Audience an 88. I'm just a little step below the audience there, but not too far off. My personal thoughts: good consistency, good mystery, good side characters, which we'll get into later. But also it has Yelena, Belova, Maya Lopez, and Kingpin. Then we have a great finale as well. Main characters of this show: Kate Bishop, Clint Barton, Jack Duquesne, Eleanor Bishop, who's a villain-ish, not like our main villain, but she's definitely villainous. Then we have Wilson Fisk and Maya Lopez. Fisk is in it. Fisk is awesome. He's a great villain. I love Kate Bishop in this one, and then I love Hawkeye, Clint Barton, and pretty much everything that he's in. Number 33 is going to be Captain America Brave New World with a score of an 84.5. Critics give it an 85, audience a 92. I'm pretty much right there with the critics, but definitely a step down from where the audience had it. But again, it is a pretty solid movie. My personal thoughts: good story, good action, solid mystery, great characters, good villain, and it definitely feels like a Hulk follow-up, right? We have a lot of the main characters that were in the original Hulk movie with Samuel Stearns, General Thaddeus Ross, right? Who's now like the president, and he also turns into a Red Hulk. So we have the Hulk serum. I don't know what it's called, just gamma radiation stuff in this one. Like, it's definitely a Hulk follow-up and feels nothing like the other Captain America movies, but also that's because Captain America is a completely different person, so it does make sense to feel different than the previous Captain America movies. Main characters: we have Sam Wilson, Thaddeus Ross, who's our villain, Joaquin Torres, Samuel Stearns, who's also a villain, Isaiah Bradley, and Sabra. Number 32 is The Defenders with a score of 84.63. Critics give it a 78, audience a 70. I'm definitely a step up above those guys. I adored this thing. It's pretty much a culmination of all four of these shows: Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, kind of all into one. Right? You bring all these characters whose shows all take place around the same time, all in New York City or New York area, right? So, like, my personal, thoughts when I was watching all these shows individually is like, these guys need to team up, and they did, and that was kind of fun, and it was awesome of a show. It was an awesome show, right? Main thoughts here: dream come true. I loved all these shows individually, and I loved seeing them come together. An amazing story, and again, I loved seeing so many beloved characters at once. And again, our characters here, we're going to have Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Then we have Colin Wigg, Claire Temple, and some more. Stick, Alexa, who's our villain, but is also manipulated. Then we have Madame Gao, who's a villain, and we have Wilson Fisk, who's a villain. Number 31 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings with a score of 85. Critics gave it a 92, audience a 98. I'm definitely a step below those. 98 seems absurd for this movie, but I don't understand why the audience adored it that much. But I understand why the critics have it a 92. Low 90s could make sense, but high 90s, not so much. My personal thoughts: good story, good action, good mystery. Pretty rushed finale, though. A good villain, but a great final battle. So again, I said the finale was rushed, but I do like the final battle. The whole last third act feels pretty rushed, but the final battle was really, really good, and I do enjoy the mystery and the villain in this movie as well. Main characters: we have Shang-Chi, we have Katie, we have Zhu Wenwu, who's our villain, we got Ying Li, we got Ying Nong, and then we have Zhu Jialing. Next up is number 30, Daredevil, with a score of a 85.22. Critics gave it a 92, audience an 89. I'm a little bit below those guys, but I still very much enjoyed this show. Individual seasons: I had season 2, slightly better than season 1, and both of those significantly better than season 3. My thoughts on season 1: great story, amazing action and mystery, compelling backstories, and an amazing finale. I love all the characters in this one as well. I love Daredevil and I love Wilson Fisk. Those are the main two characters in this one, as obviously, right? A lot of great action in this one, and the mystery, again, really, really good. Getting into my main characters: we have Daredevil, Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, Leland Oswald, who's a villain, Wilson Fisk, who's obviously a villain, and then we have Claire Temple. Now we move on to season 2. Great action, great plot and mystery, great finale. I love Elektra and the Punisher. Those people coming in as side characters, which are kind of like main characters at points. Love those guys, right? And again, it also has great mystery once again. And again, the character here, Daredevil, Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, the Punisher, who's a villain, kind of, Wilson Fisk, we have Elektra, we have Stick, who's a villain, also, kind of. Then we have Nobu, who's also a villain. So we kind of have a lot of villains in this one, which makes me enjoy it a lot more. And again, all the characters are great, and I love Punisher, and I love Elektra. Season 3, amazing action, solid story, good finale, and a good conclusion to the series. So again, obviously it wasn't as good as the first 2 seasons, but it still was very solid. Main characters, once again, we have Daredevil, Foggy Nelson, and Karen Page. We have Ben Poindexter as a villain, Wilson Fisk as a villain, and then we have Nadeem in here as well. Number 29 is going to be Iron Man 1 with a score of a 85.25. So I definitely have it a lot lower than the critics here with at a 94 and the audience at a 91. And it's actually my lowest ranked Iron Man movie, which a lot of people don't agree with. But, oh well, it's my ranking, not yours. Feel free to leave yours in the comments. But my personal thoughts, good story, amazing action, great actors, but a pretty mid villain. That's what definitely brought this one down, was the villain wasn't that good, right? Main characters here, we have Iron Man, Happy Hogan, Pepper Potts, Ironmonger, who's our villain. And nothing against the actor, I just think his character was like not well written in this movie. We got James Rhodes before he got recasted. Then we have Christine Everhart. Number 28 is going to Moon Knight with a score of an 85.33. Critics gave it an 86, audience an 88. I'm just a slight step below that, but we're all pretty much around the same area. My thoughts on this one, good action, great mystery. It's definitely very confusing, but in the way that it makes you want more. Like, you'll be left with at the end of an episode with a lot of questions, so it just makes you really, really want to see the next episode, which honestly, kind of how a show should be, right? It should make you enticed to see the next episode. Good finale, but it still does leave me with a lot of questions at the end of the show, which I would have kind of liked to see some of those questions resolved at the end, but maybe that just leads away for Moon Knight Season 2, or for him to, come in a movie, and then we can learn more about all those questions. But main characters here, we have Mark Spector / Stephen Grant. Kind of confusing there in the show. We have Layla, we got Arthur Harrow, who's a villain, got Taweret, we have Khonshu, then we have Amit, who's also a villain. Then at number 27, we have Iron Man 2 with a score of a 85.5. Critics gave it a 72, audience an 81. So I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more than the critics and audience did. Whereas opposed to Iron Man 1, I was lower than the critics and audience. But, oh well. My personal thoughts, good story, great action, good mystery, a good villain in this one, and it's great acting. Main characters here, we have Iron Man, Happy Hogan, Pepper Potts. We have Whiplash as our villain, who's a pretty good villain. We have James Rhodes, now recasted as Don Cheadle, and I like Don Cheadle, honestly, a little better than the last guy. Nothing opposed to the last guy, but Don Cheadle's kind of a dog at this point. They also have Justin Hammer, who's definitely villainish in this one, but like not really the main villain that we're worried about, but he's definitely not a good guy. Number 26 is going to be WandaVision with a score of 85.78. Critics gave it a 92, audience an 88, so I'm a little bit below those guys, but not by far. I adored this show when it came out. It was definitely a very good first MCU show, like as an official part of like Phase 4. Because anything before WandaVision like was technically an MCU show, but it didn't release with the MCU branding like WandaVision and stuff like that has come out after. But WandaVision was amazing, right? My personal thoughts, a weird but solid start. Like episode 1 is very weird, but it definitely does pick up as the story progresses. An amazing finale and a great mystery throughout this show. Main characters, we have Wanda, Vision, Darcy Lewis, Agatha Harkness, who's our villain, Monica Rambeau, and then we have Billy and Tommy, the twins. Next up is going to be number 25, Deadpool and Wolverine with a score of 86. Critics gave it a 78, audience a 94. I'm right in the middle on that one. And get into my thoughts here. Good story, great action, amazing humor, amazing acting, and good villain. I love the characters in this one, right? Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are amazing. It's Deadpool, so it obviously has amazing humor. It also has a pretty good villain, actually a couple of good villains, which we'll get into right now. Main characters are Deadpool, Wolverine, Pete Wisdom, Cassandra Nova, who's a good villain. We got Laura. Then we have Mr. Paradox, who is also a good villain within the TVA. Number 24 is going to be Thor, the first Thor movie, with a score of 86.25. Critics gave it a 77. Audience gave it a 76. I'm a little bit ahead of those guys. But yeah, getting into my thoughts. Great story, solid action, solid mystery, amazing acting with an amazing villain. Like, our main characters here, we have Thor, Odin, Loki as our villain, and come on, like, Loki's an amazing villain. There's not really a debate on that, right? We also have Eric Selvig, Darcy Lewis, and Jane Foster, which I love Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis. Eric Selvig's cool, I guess, but yeah. Moving on to number 23 is going to be Iron Man 3 with a score of a 86.5. Critics gave it a 79, audience a 78. I'm definitely a little bit ahead of those guys, but we're kind of within the same realm. But, oh well. Getting into my personal thoughts here, great story, great action, great acting, good mystery, and a good villain twist. The villain twist in this movie was really good, and it definitely caught me off guard. It's also kind of funny. But yeah, getting into our main characters, we have Iron Man, Happy Hogan, Pepper Potts, Aldrich Killian, who's our villain, James Rhodes, and we have Trevor Slattery, who is our villain. Like, he's the guy who we think is the villain at first, but he turned out to not be, and Aldrich Killian's actually the villain, and it's kind of funny how that stuff plays out. But moving on to number 22 is going to be Black Panther with a score of a 86.75. Critics gave it a 96, audience a 79. I'm right in the middle there. Like, 96 seems very high, but I knew the critics adored this film. I just don't necessarily understand why. It does have amazing action, which actually we'll get into that right now. Good story, amazing action, great acting, and a great villain. So the action in this one is probably one of the best MCU actions, like the best action in the MCU movies, aside from Avengers movies, and aside from Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 has amazing action. This one has amazing action as well. But moving on to our main characters, we have T'Challa, we have Killmonger, who's a great villain. We got Shuri, M'Baku, Ulysses Claw, who's also a villain, and Okoye. I like all these characters quite a bit. Honestly, could care less about Ulysses Claw, but Killmonger is a great villain, so we really don't need to talk much about Ulysses Claw. Number 21 is going to be Daredevil Born Again with a score of 86.77. Critics gave it an 87, so I'm pretty much right there with them, and the audience gave it an 80. Getting into my personal thoughts. Good start, a great first half, an amazing last third, and great action with a good mystery. Mystery, I mean, I love mystery, and like, there's obviously solid mysteries in this one, but not that great. But again, the action in this one, awesome. I love the cast. Again, we talked about that with the previous Daredevil show. But getting into our characters here, talk about them now. Daredevil, love him. Kingpin as a villain, again, he's amazing. I love him. Punisher, I love him. Vanessa Fisk, she's really good. She's actually a villain in this one, which is fun. We got White Tiger, and we have Muse, which is kind of a freaking psychopath, but he's a pretty good villain. So yeah, a lot of good villains in this one, and it's a really, really good show. Number 20 is Ant-Man and the Wasp with a score of 87. The critics also gave this an 87, and the audience gave it a 79. So I'm definitely right on with the critics. I'm a little overrated from what the audience says, but I love this movie, right? Getting into my personal thoughts. Great story, good mystery, good humor, and a great villain. I love all the Ant-Man characters, as I have mentioned already before, and the villain in this one is really, really good. Getting into the characters here. We have Ant-Man, we have Wasp, we have Pym, we have Jeb and Dine, we have Ghost, who's our villain, and a great villain at that. Then we have Cassie Lang. Number 19 is going to be Doctor Strange with a score of an 87.5. Critics have an 89, audience an 86. I'm right in the middle there, but again, those guys are also very, very close to each other. My personal thought on this movie, great story, great action. I love the trippy effects, which if you've watched the movie, you'll understand. But like in the action sequences, there's a lot of trippy stuff. They kind of go like in a mirror realm where they're like, I don't know how to explain it, but if you watch the movie, you'd understand. And there's really good mysteries in this movie as well. Looking at characters here, Stephen Strange, Wong, the Ancient One, Dr. Christine Palmer, Caecilius, I think is how you say that, who's a villain. And then, of course, we have Dormammu, who's also a villain. Number 8 is going to be Captain Marvel with a score of an 88. Critics give it a 79, audience a 45. Definitely on more on par with the critics say. I don't understand why the audience hated it so much. I feel like Captain Marvel just as a whole, as a character, is very much hated by the audience, which again, I don't understand why. But getting into my personal thoughts on this movie. My thoughts: great story, fun action, good mystery, good humor, great acting, and I love Nick Fury. Like, Nick Fury's in this as a main character, and he's awesome, right? And again, the action is fun. The freaking, what am I gonna say? The mystery is really good with how she got her powers and like the origin behind her, and there's kind of a villain twist in this one as well. It's really fun. But we have Carol Danvers as our main character with Nick Fury, Talos, Mariah Rambeau, Marvel, who's a villain, and Jan Rog, who's a villain. But again, we do have a villain twist where Talos is like supposed to be the villain first, but he's actually not. Number 17 is going to be Loki. With the score of an 88.83. This is actually my highest rated show. So you can see that there's a lot of movies that I have that I think are better than the best TV show. You can disagree, but again, this is my list. But moving on from here, the season rankings, I had season 2 actually a little bit better than season 1. But getting into my personal thoughts on season 1, great mystery, great start, no clear setup for the finale, but there is an amazing finale with a great cliffhanger as well. I loved season 1, and the mystery within the whole Loki show was just amazing, right? Main characters: Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, Kang, who's our villain, and Kang is a great villain in this show. They kind of ruined him after this show, and well, he kind of ruined himself later, but you know, Ravonna Renslayer is also a villain, and then Hunter B15 is in this as well. Season 2 is going to be my thoughts. Slowish start, so like first episode not great, but again the rest of it really good. Amazing middle and amazing end. Good setup for the finale, and there's an amazing finale. So if the first episode or maybe the first 2 episodes were just a little bit better, right? This season would have been, you know, obviously even higher rated than it was, and it's already like my best rated MCU season as a whole, so it's kind of crazy. But getting into our characters here, we have Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie once again. We have Victor Timely, who's actually our villain. He's a Kang variant, of course, as you can see. We have Miss Minutes, who's a villain, and she's kind of crazy in this one. And then we have Ouroboros, who's kind of funny and pretty cool in this season as well. Number 16 is Spider-Man Far From Home with a score of a 90. Critics gave it a 91, audience a 95. I am a little bit lower than them, but I mean, it's a Spider-Man movie, so you can't really get lower than a 90 when it is a Spider-Man movie because Spider-Man is just that cool. But my personal thoughts: great story, amazing villain with a great twist, great action, and amazing acting. I mean, come on. The acting in this one, dude, we're going to get into our characters here, but come on. Peter Parker, Tom Holland, he's great. MJ, Zendaya, she's great. Ned, I don't remember the actor's name, but he's great. Happy Hogan, he's cool too. Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, he's great. And then Mysterio, right? Jake Gyllenhaal, he's great, and he's an amazing villain. One of the best MCU villains, honestly, in my opinion. I think he's a little bit underrated. But there was also a good villain twist with him as well. Number 15 is Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which I do have as the worst Guardians of the Galaxy movie, although they're all really good, with the lowest one being a 90.5, right? So they're all still really good in my opinion, just this is the worst of the 3. My personal thoughts: great story, solid mystery, really fun characters, good humor, and amazing acting, right? Getting into our characters here, there's quite a bit of them. We do have Peter Quill, Gamora, Groot, Nebula, who's our villain. We have Rocket, and we have Drax, and then of course we also have Yondu, who's our villain-ish kind of in this one, and then we have Ronan, who is definitely a villain, and he's a pretty good villain here as well. Number 14 is going to be Avengers: Age of Ultron with a score of 91. Critics give it a 76, audience an 82. I don't know why the critics didn't like it as much, and the audience honestly the same, but like, this was really good. It's definitely the worst Avengers movie, but when you're comparing them to the other 3 Avengers movies, it's like, it's not really fair. It's still an amazing movie. People just, I feel like, rank it a little bit lower because it's not on par with the original Avengers. But my personal thought: great story, amazing characters, great villain. It is definitely slow at sometimes, which is probably why people don't like it as much, but I can kind of look past that a little bit because of all the other things it does very well. And there's some very good emotional aspects as well. Main characters here, we have Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hulk, Thor, and Hawkeye. as our original 6 Avengers, and they also added quite a bit of characters as well, with Wanda Maximoff, who's definitely villainish in this one, Pietro Maximoff, who's villainish, but then he, sacrifices himself. We have Vision, we have Nick Fury, of course, we have James Rhodes, and we have Ultron, who's our villain, and he is a really, really good villain. Number 13 is Thor Ragnarok with a score of 91.5. Critics gave it a 93, audience an 87. I'm kind of in the middle there. Definitely lead a little bit more towards the critics, but again, the audience isn't too far off from where I stand. My personal thoughts: an amazing story, amazing characters, great humor, and a great villain. Getting into the characters, we have Thor, who again I've mentioned already multiple times that I love Thor. Right, I think he looks really cool in this one. This is honestly my favorite version of Thor, when he has the, short hair with the those red paint on his face. Makes him look really cool, right? We got Loki, who's again, he's villainish because he's Loki, but he's not really a villain in this one. We have Hela, who's our main villain. She's a great villain. We have Hulk. He's cool. I love that Hulk is in this movie. We got Surtur, who's a villain, and don't really remember much about him. But we also have Valkyrie, and I love Valkyrie as well. Number 12 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The critics and audience definitely had a bit lower than I had. I have a 92. They're at 85 and 87 respectively, but they still thoroughly enjoyed it. Just not quite as much as I did. And personal thoughts: great story, good mystery, amazing characters with a good villain. It is emotional and it is funny. Pretty much all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are funny. That's part of what they stand for, I think. I had to say. Right, and again, the characters are once again amazing, and there's a pretty good villain in this one as well. Main characters, again, our main guys here. We got Peter Quill, Gamora, Baby Groot now, because Groot kind of sacrificed himself or whatever in the first one. Now he's back as a baby, kind of. I think it's technically a new Groot, but oh well. We have Nebula, which is a hero now. We have Rocket and Drax. And then we have Yondu, who's not a villain in this one, and he actually sacrifices himself at the end. Then we have Ego, who's a villain, Mantis, and Kraglin. It's going to be Thunderbolts with a score of 92.5. Critics give it an 88, audience a 93. I'm pretty much right on par with the audience, just a little bit overrated from where the critics stand, but they're not too far off from me either. Now, getting into my personal thoughts: great story, amazing characters, good action, good mystery, and a good villain. I love the characters in this one. We'll get into them right here, but I liked pretty much all these characters quite a bit in the previous projects they were in, aside from John Walker. I didn't like John Walker in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but you're also not really supposed to like him, so it kind of makes sense. But we have Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, John Walker, Ghost, Taskmaster, and Red Guardian, which again, I really like all of these guys. And then we of course have Bob Sentry, or Bob, slash Sentry, who's our villain. And then we have Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who's also a villain. She's really cool. Number 10 is going to be Spider-Man Homecoming with a score of 93. Critics gave it a 92. Audience gave it an 87. I love this movie. It's Spider-Man. It's a Spider-Man origin story, right? My personal thoughts here: great story, amazing cast, great villain, great action, and pretty good humor as well. It's Spider-Man, right? I can't really say anything bad about Spider-Man. It definitely takes a different approach to the Spider-Man origin story as opposed to what the Amazing Spider-Man did in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, but it does still do it really, really well. And the main characters, of course, we have Spider-Man, we have MJ, we have Vulture, who's our villain, pretty good villain. We have Ned, we have Iron Man, and we have Liz. Number 9 is going to be Captain America the Winter Soldier with a score of a 93.5. Critics gave it a 90, audience 92. I'm just a little bit ahead of both of those guys there. My personal thoughts: an amazing story, amazing cast, amazing villain, good mystery. It is definitely emotional at times. But yeah, it's a really, really good movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. Getting into our characters, we have Captain America, we have Winter Soldier as our villain, which again, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. He is a great character, and he's a really good villain. The Falcon is in this one. We have Alexander Pierce also as a villain. We have Nick Fury. Then we have Black Widow in this, and I love Black Widow as well. Number 8 is going to be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with a score of a 94. Critics gave it a 74. Audience gave it an 85. I definitely a lot higher than where those guys stand on it, but I adored this one. Right, it was awesome. Getting into my personal thoughts: amazing story, amazing cast, amazing villain, great mystery, and it definitely has a horror element, a horror feel to it. Now, when we get into our cast here, there's only reasons why I enjoy this more than other people. I feel like I definitely enjoy Scarlet Witch more than a lot of people. She's probably, honestly, one of my favorite characters in the entire MCU. She really might be my favorite, in all honesty. But our main characters here, we have Doctor Strange, Wong, Scarlet Witch as a villain, which is really, really cool to see. We have the Illuminati, who are villainish, kind of. I mean, they're in this movie, but I had to put them on here, right? We have Sinister Strange, who's a villain, and we have America Chavez introduced in this one, and she's pretty cool as well. Number 7 is going to be Captain America, the First Avenger, with a score of a 94.5. Critics gave it an 80, and the audience gave it a 75. That really surprised me. I really thought this one was really good, and I don't know why they have it so low. I honestly think this could be the best origin story out of any superhero, or at least any Marvel superhero, or any superhero movie that I have personally seen. Right? I've seen a lot of non-Marvel stuff, but and a lot of non-MCU stuff, at least for that matter, but I can't really remember too much, but I would say that this is definitely my personal favorite origin story. It might not be the best first movie of a franchise, but I think it does tell the best origin story, if that makes sense. Getting into my personal thoughts, amazing story, great cast, amazing villain, great war movie, and it definitely has emotional depth to it. Now, getting into the characters here, we have Captain America, Peggy Carter, Bucky Barnes, Red Skull, who's our villain, and a great villain at that. We have Chester Phillips, and we have Abraham Erskine as well. Number 6 is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with a score of a 95. Critics gave it an 82, audience gave it a 94. I'm definitely right there with the audience. I don't know why the critics have it so low. Like, this one was amazing, and it's very, very emotional. If you do not cry when you watch this movie, there is something legitimately wrong with you. My personal thoughts, amazing story, great cast, good villain, a really good Rocket backstory in here, which is also very, very emotional, and it definitely should make you cry. The Rocket backstory in this movie should make you cry. Again, if it does not, there's something wrong with you. Main characters here, we have Peter Quill, Gamora, Baby Groot, Nebula, Rocket, and Drax, once again. And we also have Adam Warlock, who's in this one. We have Lila, High Evolutionary, who's a villain, Mantis, Floor, and Kraglin. And then Lila and Floor are from Rocket's backstory, and it's very, very sad. Number 5 is going to be Captain America Civil War with a score of a 96. Critics gave it a 90, audience an 89. I'm definitely a little bit higher than those guys, but they're not too far off from me. But getting into my personal thoughts here with an amazing story, incredible cast, amazing action, great villain, and it's definitely an Avengers film. It has the Captain America branding, but it is not a Captain America movie, right? It's an Avengers film. We have at least 12 main characters who are all currently Avengers, or at least, at the time. They're all Avengers, right? They have 12 Avengers in this movie, right? It's not a Captain America movie, but whatever. Looking beyond that, it's obviously an incredible movie, right? An incredible cast because, again, it's an Avengers movie, right? We have basically Captain America versus Iron Man in this movie. So Team Captain America is obviously Captain America, Bucky Barnes, Falcon, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and Scarlet Witch. And then Team Iron Man has, of course, Iron Man, Black Widow, Vision, War Machine, Black Panther, and Spider-Man. We get the introduction to Black Panther and Spider-Man to the MCU in this movie, which is amazing. But yeah, moving on from there, we have Zemo as our villain, who he's a really good villain. I like this dude. But number 4 is going to be Spider-Man No Way Home with a score of a 97. Critics gave it a 93, audience a 97. So I'm right there with the audience, just a little bit ahead of the critics, but again, they're not too far off. But yeah, this one's amazing, right? It might be overrated because of nostalgia purposes, but it's still an amazing movie in my opinion, and of course in the audience's opinion as well. And the critics obviously really enjoyed it as well. So, getting my personal thoughts here: great story, incredible cast, great action, incredible villains, great humor, and it is very, very emotional. And some of that emotion does tie into previous Spider-Man movies. So if you haven't seen those ones, you might not understand the emotion as much in some scenarios. But here, of course, we have all 3 of the Spider-Men. We have Doctor Strange, we have MJ, and we have Ned. And we have Aunt May, and we have all of the villains here with the Lizard, Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, and Doc Ock. A lot of great villains in this one, which I adore. Number 3 is going to be Avengers Endgame with a score of a 98. Critics gave it a 94. Audience gave it a 90. I'm a little bit, ahead of those guys, but this was also, this was an amazing movie. I don't think you're going to find anybody that said they did not like Endgame. Like, they at least liked it. They might not have loved it or adored it as much as I do, but they at least liked it, right? But getting into my thoughts, it's an incredible story, incredible cast, incredible villain, and it is extremely emotional. Now getting into my personal main characters. I did that backwards. But getting into my main characters here, we have a lot of them, but I'm not going to mention everybody, of course. We have our main 6 Avengers, right? Original 6 Avengers with Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and the Hulk. And then we have some other guys here, Nebula, Rocket, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and then, of course, Thanos as our villain. And he's obviously a really, really good villain. Probably the best villain in the MCU because he does actually win once, but it's debatable. There's a lot of great MCU villains. But moving on here, number 2 is the Avengers with a score of 99. Critics and audience both gave it a 91, so I definitely overrated it a little bit compared to those guys, but this was an amazing movie, right? My personal thoughts, an incredible story. It's an amazing first team-up film, so I could be overrating it just because it is the first of its kind, or at least in the MCU. I know, like, DC has the Justice League, and that definitely came out before this, at least originally, but this was the first, seeing that on large-scale MCU stuff, and it was awesome, right? Incredible cast in this one, of course, because Avengers, duh, and an incredible villain because, Loki, right? Getting into our characters here, we have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and the Hulk. And then other guys like Nick Fury, Mariah Hill, Loki, who's our villain, which, of course, is an amazing, amazing villain. And we have Phil Coulson, who's obviously a good enough character that they had a 7-season show kind of branched off of this guy. Number 1, of course, is going to be the last movie I haven't talked about, which is Avengers Infinity War with a score of 100. It's the best movie, so I have to give it a 100 because logical. That makes sense to my brain logically. But the critics give it an 85 and the audience a 92. That feels low. 85, really? The stuff that the critics have had higher than Infinity War is kind of crazy, in my personal opinion. I think they had Shang-Chi higher than this. They had maybe... I don't remember exactly, but they've had a lot of stuff higher than this one. I'm just like, what are they on, right? But, oh well. Getting into my personal thoughts. An incredible story, incredible action, incredible cast, incredible villain. Best finale out of any MCU movie, and it is certainly emotional, right? I think it has the best finale because, the villain won, and you don't ever expect the villain to win. They actually did in this movie, so, that was crazy. And it is certainly emotional because, again, the villain won, and half of our heroes, half of the whole world just died, disappeared. So it's okay, definitely some emotional stuff happening at the end of that movie. And yeah, it was awesome. Now getting into our main characters, again, there's a lot of them. We have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and the Hulk. And then we have Black Panther, Star-Lord, Scarlet Witch, Vision, the Winter Soldier, and of course, Thanos as our villain. Now, getting in here is a simple view of everything. There's 63 different projects. You can look at everything listed out here. From Avengers at number 1, Avengers Infinity War at number 1 with a score of 100, all the way down to Inhumans at number 63 with a score of a 57. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. But thank you for watching. If you haven't, go check out my other 2 videos, my individual movie and individual TV show rankings. You'll get a little bit more out of watching those than you do if you watch this one. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what your personal rankings is, and let me know what you want me to watch and rank next.